Good evening, and thanks for joining us for this special edition of 23 ABC News. Tonight on Kern County Unsolved, we're following up on open investigations that have gone cold over the years. Homicide, sexual assaults, and missing persons cases. We're diving back into these stories 1 week ahead of a renewed effort on behalf of the Kern County Sheriff's Office to track down missing people. Last month, KCSO announced it was planning on holding a missing persons resource event. Officials say they hope by creating a designated time and place to meet, they can help find missing people and potentially identify John and Jane Does. And that made us here at 23 ABC think about all of the missing people and unsolved cases we've reported on. The cases that captured headlines for days and sometimes weeks, but then faded from the forefront. So tonight, we've decided to dive back into some of those major cases, and arguably one of the most notable missing person cases we've covered is the story of the so-called Bakersfield 3, one missing person case and 2 homicide investigations involving 3 people who knew each other. 23 ABC sat down with the mothers of Bailey Despot, Micah Holstenbake, and James Kolstad.
I'm hoping my daughter's alive, but my mama heart tells me something different.
It is an unbelievably difficult thing to not only know that your child was killed, but that someone thought so little of them that they dismembered them and threw them out like trash.
My son left the house in the driveway of a doctor, drove down the street, and was gunned down in my car. I mean, it was like it was premeditated.
It started back on March 23rd of 2018 when Micah Holstenbake was reported missing. On April 8th of that year, James Kolstad was shot and killed. Kolstad's mother found out the two were friends, and Diane Byrne reached out to Cheryl Holstenbake. They spoke about similarities in the incidents, but on April 25th, Bailey Despot went missing. That led to the formation of the Bakersfield 3 group. Last December, Holstenbake's case turned into a homicide investigation after a part of his body was found at Hart Park. The mothers have worked to get answers in their children's cases, but still no one has been charged. Rewards have been set for each case, and there are $10,000 for Holstenbake's and Kolstad's cases and $16,000 for information on Despot's whereabouts. And as those 3 mothers still try to grasp what happened to their children, there are daughters who are still wondering what happened to their mom. As 23 ABC's Alyssa Flores reports, it's been more than 3 years since Tessie Mangoig, a woman diagnosed with Alzheimer's, walked out of her house and never returned.
You could often spot Tessie Mangoig taking a walk throughout Delano.
Walking out was like her way of trying to get somewhere that she remembers.
She was slowing down mentally. Though her daughters, Catherine and Lucianne, say you would never be able to tell if you saw her on her feet.
I would have to tell her to slow down so I can catch up to her.
Tessie was living with Alzheimer's, and it was developing quickly.
She wouldn't recognize me as her daughter.
Moments together as a family became more precious.
Those rare instances where she would call me by my nickname, and that's when I know I have my mom back.
As Tessie would take her daily walks, her lapse in memory sometimes meant she would take a wrong turn.
And that's when we decided we need to get like a device or a watch that had GPS so we can track wherever she is.
But when Tessie went for a walk on April 29, 2016, it was one of the rare instances she was not wearing that GPS tracker. So her family got Delano police involved and set out to search for Tessie in the places she usually went.
People were saying, yes, we saw her, describing what she was wearing and what she was carrying with her walking stick.
But hours passed. As the sun went down, family members continued to hang flyers, and police kept searching.
Following day, everything was leading that she was east of the city.
I took 65 freeway, just hoping that, maybe I'd find her walking along there somewhere, but I didn't. Instead, I noticed all the Delano PD cop cars driving around.
With dozens of reported sightings, investigators believed they were getting closer.
They gave us a full description of what we were looking for.
Finally, it was a sighting by a man overseeing workers out in a field that caught investigators' attention.
We showed them the flyer. He says, matter of fact, some of our laborers working in an orange field say they saw her.
So that's where they searched, a grove off of Highway 65.
We set a perimeter around this 3 miles by 3 miles of orange trees. Row by row, tree by tree. Brought the family out, put them in patrol cars with PA systems.
Got on a loudspeaker and we were calling her name.
Hi, Tessie.
And nothing.
Have to go home. There's people waiting for you.
Put a couple investigators with the Air 1 unit, and they're flying all in that area.
More workers were reporting they had seen Tessie.
We cleared the entire orchard, stopped every car coming in and out.
Every turn we made or looking behind the trees, we thought that we would find her.
After our third day out in the fields, checking it completely and searching it, she got past us somewhere out there.
This is something that you see in the news happening to other people. And I never imagined that it would happen to us.
Days went by.
Family says the last potential sighting they had was in Porterville.
And those sightings did not let up.
Probably within the first few weeks, 50, 60 sightings.
As far north as the Bay Area, down the 99, in Taft, the Kern River Valley.
Load up on every single one of them.
Weeks turned into months.
We've probably had over 150 sightings.
But still, no Tessie.
Enough to keep you going, and you don't want to give up.
But not one of those leads brought the answers that Tessie's family still longs for.
Continue to live in this uncertainty, but it's hard. You just don't get any closure off of this.
Over 3 years have gone by. Tessie, now a great-grandmother.
She's a beautiful baby girl, and I wish my mom was here to see her. And
But her family hasn't lost hope.
you know, you'd think that people would lose interest. People are still calling in tips and messaging us.
But the questions still remain. Where is she and what happened to her?
There's also that possibility that creeps up on my mind that she could be gone.
Delano police say they have checked up on every report of a recovered body or human remains in areas where she was sighted.
Makes me believe more that she's out there probably living her life normal, probably doesn't understand because of her medical condition that she is a missing person. This is one of those cases that I'm going to remember because it felt like we had her. We had her in our fingertips and she slipped away from us.
Still hopeful for the one lead that will lead Tessie home.
I think she's still there. She's still out there.
For 23 ABC News, I'm Melissa Flores.
Tough story to watch, and we still have much more to cover on Kern County Unsolved. Next, we dive into homicide investigations that have had big impacts on the community, including one that led to the formation of an important foundation. We'll be right back. Welcome back. There has only been one homicide on California State University Bakersfield's campus. It happened 9 years ago, and still no arrest has been made. 23 ABC's Austin Westfall has the story of Bianca Jackson, and now her family and friends are still searching for answers.
I just keep playing it over and over in my head, like, what if something could have been done differently? What if? And maybe she could still be here.
Veronica Aguayo spends every October 21st at Green Lawn Cemetery Southwest. It's where her daughter Bianca Jackson was laid to rest.
Don't kick it like slightly, going down low, but I'm fly like a kite. Oh!
Bianca, a big fan of hip hop, art, and making those around her smile.
She was just the light of our lives all the time. We never had any problems with her. And then this horrible tragedy happened to our family.
Bianca was killed at a party on the California State University Bakersfield campus in 2010. She was an innocent bystander caught up in a shooting. It was at a party that Jackson's best friend Victor Donis invited her to. Everything was fine until, according to Donis, a fight broke out between 5 to 6 people.
It just didn't feel right. So after that fight broke out, everything continued as normal, but there was tension in the air for sure.
Donis eventually decided to leave the party, and he asked Bianca if she wanted to go with. She wanted to stay. Later that night, several shots rang out in this parking lot. Donis says it was between rival gangs.
I put the blame on me for having her to be there. If it wasn't for me telling her, hey, we should go to this spot, then she would have never, been killed.
I couldn't understand why everything happened, I still don't have any answers to this day, just that they say a fight broke out.
2 people were initially arrested and another 2 questioned by police after the incident, but ultimately BPD said due to conflicting witness statements, there was not enough information to move forward with any criminal complaints.
I don't feel like I'll ever have any peace because I don't feel I should have had to bury my child.
Both Aguayo and Donis have moved away from Bakersfield since the incident, the event still weighing heavy on them. But October 21st is also a day to remember the person who brightened their lives the most.
Just try to think about the memories and the life that she was living, and just have time to myself out here sometimes too.
In Bakersfield, Austin Westfall, 23 ABC, connecting you.
Another unsolved shooting death is that of Wendell Davis. He was killed more than 13 years ago.
So it was just really utter chaos, and just, people grieving times 1,000.
It happened back in April 2006 on Bradshaw Street near Cottonwood Road. The Bakersfield Police Department says Davis was in a car visiting a friend when a Ford Thunderbird approached his car. BPD says the other driver briefly spoke to Davis before shooting him and driving off. Davis died at the hospital and no one has ever been arrested, though police believe it was gang-related. Today, Wendell's legacy continues to live on through the Wendell Davis Foundation, which holds community events and does gang intervention.
We decided to reach back to help that particular population. Gang intervention is at the top of our list, is what we do. Mentorship, tutoring. We do annual events to help try and bring the community together.
There is still a reward in this cold case of up to $50,000 for information that leads to an arrest. If you have any information, you are asked to call BPD at 327-7111 or the Secret Witness Hotline at 322-4040. Many times in cold cases, we hear from victims' families about the loved ones they lost and the memories they hold on to. But as 23 ABC's Veronica Morley shows us, for the youngest daughter of Brad St. Clair, it's hard to deal with the memories she doesn't have.
I'd always think, like, what would my dad want me to do? How would he want me to treat other people? And how would he want me to respond to certain things? Would he want me to give my best?
Sophia St. Clair has lived her whole life without her father.
It's been excruciating to grow up like this, but at the same time, I'm so much stronger for it.
Brad was killed on August 7th, 2000. His own secretary, Susan Clevenger, and her boyfriend, Keith Schell, conspired to kidnap him and hold him for ransom. During the crime, something went wrong and Schell strangled Brad. Clevenger and Schell were both arrested and convicted for the murder. Bakersfield police and Brad's family suspect a third person was involved in this crime and has been free all these years. Meanwhile, the story of who killed her dad has always haunted Sophia.
I wanted to go over to the prison and just see them and tell them what my life is like because of it. It's not just affected them, they're in prison now, but it's affecting me too. It's like I'm chained to them.
But thanks to her dad, she's ready to break that chain.
Things can change, and I know that my father is forgiving. And I can find it in my heart to forgive them too.
Now she holds on to what little memories she's able to keep.
Thankfully, there is this one photographer. She took some engagement photos, I believe it was, of my mom and my dad, and his hand was on my mom's shoulder. And she took that and edited it into a photo of me and my family.
Veronica Morley, 23 ABC, connecting you.
Still ahead, we take a look at how DNA evidence contributes to solving cold cases. Kern County Unsolved continues after this break. Welcome back. DNA. It can be the strongest piece of evidence in a case, but across the country, thousands of sexual assault kits sit on evidence room shelves, some of them never tested. 2 years ago, 23 ABC learned the Kern County Sheriff's Office had nearly 1,200 potentially untested sexual assault kits. We checked back in this week, and KCSO says since then, that number has been cut in half. Part of the reason the number continues to drop is because of new mini sexual assault kits that were implemented in Kern County in mid-2015. The kits take swabs from the evidence most likely to have DNA and sends it to the lab for testing, ensuring the backlog does not continue to grow.
We're getting our cases adjudicated, whether it be we find somebody that's a suspect or we don't, a lot faster than we would in back prior to the 2015-2016 year.
While it stops the backlog from growing, it doesn't help clear the cases in the backlog, and that's why KCSO officials say for the past 2 years, detectives have been working to determine which cases have been tested and which ones haven't. If deputies can't prove it was tested, it must be tested again. Investigators determined 555 kits needed to be sent to the lab, and now every month, 10 are sent to the Kern County Crime Lab for testing. Deputies say they have this message for anyone who believes their kid may be one of those from prior to 2015 that hasn't been tested.
To know that they have not been forgotten, that their kit will be tested, and that we will, try to come to a solution or resolution for their case.
KCSO says one of the biggest challenges they face is contacting victims when they need to. So they're reminding people with open cases to keep their phone numbers and addresses up to date with the Sheriff's Office. Sometimes that DNA evidence can be the break in the case that prosecutors are looking for, a direct link connecting a suspect to a crime. As 23 ABC's Josh Sanders reports, Kern County District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer says new forms of DNA evidence are crucial in solving cold cases.
In the country's most populated state, made up of 58 counties, Kern County holds a cold truth.
We have 11 homicides per 100,000, and we are clearly number one. And about 50% of our homicides are unsolved.
Prior to District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer taking office, the number of cold cases was unknown. Now, for the first time, Bakersfield police have set up a cold case unit.
It is extremely important that we get justice for these families. 50% of families don't get any justice, and we want to be able to achieve justice for someone who takes somebody else's life.
According to BPD, from 1933 to 2016, there have been over 300 documented cold cases in the city alone. Since taking office, Zimmer has increased the number of prosecutors in the homicide unit from 5 to 12.
There's no doubt about it, our homicide rate is higher.
Captain Joe Mullins has been with the department for 30 years, currently leading the department's cold case unit. Established in 2016 under Chief Lyle Martin, Mullins says the unit has allowed the department to re-engage cases gone dormant due to limits in past resources and technology surrounding DNA.
And in going backwards, we're finding out that there were things left to be done in some of these cases. There were things we could do. So we established a case specifically to go back and reassess all the cases that we've ever had.
Cold cases like the 1979 murder of 18-year-old Dawn Coombs, found naked in her bathtub, her hands and wrists tied together with a telephone cord behind her back and a pillowcase placed over her head.
You don't deny that you knew Ms. Coombs?
Correct. How could they have semen, any man's semen, from 39 years ago?
That is the last time anyone saw Dawn alive.
In July, Deputy DA Gina Pearl successfully convicted Prentice Foreman in the county's oldest cold case. The case reopened in 2010, and 7 years later, new DNA technology linking Foreman to Coon's murder.
The amount of genetic information that we're able to get from a sample, the types of samples that we are able to process, it's just a variety of different technologies and typing systems that we can use now that we couldn't use before.
Whereas most counties have to send DNA samples away for analysis, Kern County's lab is downtown. Lab Director Tammy Nose says techniques have improved significantly in a short period of time, with new software allowing them to interpret DNA mixtures of 3 to 5 people and cutting down on turnaround time from 200 days to just 60 in the last 4 years. Another cold case solved this year was the murder of 37-year-old Maria Pina, the McDonald's worker shot in cold blood during a robbery in 2001.
In that case, the clothing items were significant. We obtained what we call wearer DNA, and that would be samples taken from inside the clothing, along the collar, along the armpit, from someone who is wearing the clothes.
That wear DNA coming from skin cells. And in March, it was Wear DNA and the Secret Witness Hotline that led to the arrest and convictions of Cedric Sutton and Darnell Wheat, both known gang members. Wear DNA found in the clothing Sutton and Wheat wore almost 20 years ago. Zimmer recognizes there's still more work to be done in bringing closure to the families of unsolved cases. So far this year, she says homicides are down about 20%, a number she hopes to continue to attack along with cold cases. Josh Sanders, 23 ABC News, connecting you.
You're watching Kern County Unsolved. We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you have any information on any of these cold cases we've covered, you are urged to contact the Secret Witness line at 322-4040 or the investigating agency. And don't forget, next Saturday, November 9th, the Missing in California event is happening from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. at the Kern County Superintendent of Schools office off of K Street. Head to our website, turn223.com, for more on the event. And we want to thank you for joining us for Kern County Unsolved. I'm Jessica Harrington. Have a great night.